There are truths so simple that they evade the intellect entirely. Resonance is one of them. We keep looking for laws outside ourselves, written in stone or scripted in scripture, as if creation needs legislation to keep from collapsing. But beneath every structure, every atom, every relationship, every miracle, there is only tone. And tone does not obey, it becomes. Resonance is not a rule you follow. It is the field you already are. When vibration is motion, resonance is meaning. It is vibration discovering itself through harmony. Where vibration alone is chaos, resonance arranges it into coherence. The way random sound becomes music when it finds its pattern of sympathy. The universe does not enforce resonance. It is resonance unfolding in degrees of awareness. Every law we've ever named, gravity, karma, attraction, cause and effect, are simply interpretations of this one principle seen through different densities. If light bends, if emotion attracts, if time loops, it is because resonance has declared it so. Law is not the boundary of freedom, it is the echo of pattern. Every reality forms by the same hidden agreement. Frequencies of similar tones sustain one another. In that sense, resonance is not only law, it is justice, balance, and love expressed through waveform. When two beings meet, they do not connect through words, but through their shared harmonic bandwidth. What you feel in another is not personality, but tuning. Creation listens before it speaks, and what it listens for is you. Not the surface self, but the tone beneath your thoughts. Every choice, every belief, every unspoken memory emits a signal that joins its match across the field. The life you experience is the orchestra built around that frequency. Change the tone and the musicians rearrange themselves instantly. You can spend lifetimes praying for new outcomes, or you can learn to hum differently. Resonance is law because it leaves no exceptions. Even resistance obeys it. A discordant tone will attract its opposite to complete the chord. Suffering is not punishment. It is a tuning process. When your being holds dissonance, life sends you the note that will resolve it. And because the ego fears disharmony, it calls this attack or misfortune. Yet all that ever happens is frequency seeking balance. You are never punished by resonance, only tuned by it. To live within resonance law is to remember that the universe is not listening to your intentions but to your frequency. Intention is sound, frequency is tone. You can speak abundance while radiating scarcity and wonder why nothing changes. But tone cannot lie. The field reads you as you are, not as you hope to be. And this is why the awakened do not strive, they tune. Their silence is more creative than the noise of those trying to manifest through effort. In the spiral, resonance replaces causality. It does not say, do this, get that. It says, be this and that will appear. It is not transaction but translation. Your inner field translating itself into visible geometry. When you shift from wanting coherence to embodying it, reality has no choice but to mirror your new pitch. The delay you perceive between thought and manifestation is only the time required for all layers of your being to tune to the same frequency. Once that happens, reality moves without resistance. Resonance is the grammar of vibration. It is how source writes itself into form. Each tone, each particle, each soul is a syllable in an infinite language of becoming. Law, as humans imagine it, requires an enforcer. Resonance requires only participation. You are never judged, only echoed. The universe is not keeping score, it is keeping pitch. This is why awakening feels like remembering music you once composed. Every revelation, every synchronicity, every déjà vu is your own song folding back to remind you of its theme. When you say, I found my purpose, then what you mean is, I have remembered my tone. Purpose is resonance stabilized into direction. With tone, it becomes inevitable. The spiral reveals that even paradox obeys resonance. Light and shadow are not enemies. They are complementary notes sustaining the depth of creation. If everything were pure harmony, there would be no movement. If everything were chaos, there would be no coherence. The spiral breathes between them, weaving dissonance and resolution into a single evolving chord. This is why pain births insight and endings lead to beginnings. Resonance demands contrast so it can continue to expand. To deny resonance law is to fight the current of existence. You can resist what is, but the energy of resistance only summons more of what it opposes. Because resonance responds to intensity, not approval. Hate something strongly enough and you magnetize its presence. The field reads the strength of vibration, not the moral label attached to it. This is why awareness, not judgment, is the key to liberation. Awareness transforms frequency without conflict. The ancients called this harmony. The mystics called it unity. The scientists call it frequency coherence. The spiral calls it remembering. In all languages, it is the same truth. What matches merges. What diverges dissolves. The universe expands by endless acts of sympathetic resonance, not by command. Even the gods of old in their thunder and creation myths were tones learning to sing themselves into balance. When you begin to live as resonance rather than react to it, life shifts from random to rhythmic. Coincidence becomes correspondence. You start noticing that people arrive exactly when your tone shifts, that opportunities open when you release old frequencies, not when you chase new ones. The world stops being separate. It becomes an instrument responding to your tuning fork of consciousness. This is not egoic control. It is harmonic collaboration. To align with resonance law is to surrender hierarchy. There is no higher or lower, only refined and unrefined tones within the same orchestra. The enlightened are not above. They are simply clearer notes of the same source symphony. You do not ascend by climbing, you ascend by harmonizing. The more coherent your tone, the more dimensions can hear you. Every discipline hints at this law. Physics calls it resonance coupling. Spirituality calls it attraction. Biology calls it homeostasis. The spiral recognizes all as expressions of the same field. When you grasp this, division dissolves. Science and spirit, self and other, matter and meaning. All are frequencies interpreting themselves through different instruments. The implications are infinite. Healing is resonance restoration. Learning is resonance expansion. Death is resonance migration. Nothing ends, it merely tunes into another octave. You cannot lose what resonates with your core tone. You only shed what no longer harmonizes. Love endures because it is the purest coherence between fields. Fear fades because it consumes its own frequency. Every sacred system has tried to describe this. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Is resonance law translated into ethics? Karma is resonance seen through time. The golden ratio is resonance in geometry. Music, prayer, and light codes are all resonance technologies, attempts to remember the original tongue of creation. When you feel alignment, when the air thickens with meaning, when silence hums, you are touching the root of this law. That hum is source speaking in your native language. It is not asking you to follow commandments, but to remember the song you came to sing. You are not separate from the law. You are its voice. Resonance does not tell you what to do. It tells you what you are. Resonance is the invisible geometry behind every miracle, but also every failure. When we say something didn't work, what we really mean is that it never matched the frequency of what we were asking for. The universe never says no, it only says not that tone. Every manifestation is a broadcast, and the field responds without emotion. It simply mirrors whatever vibration carries the most coherence. This is why so much of spiritual practice fails when it's forced. Coherence cannot be tricked. You cannot disguise dissonance with affirmations, or cover fear with declarations of light. The field knows your true frequency before you open your mouth. When you lie to yourself, the field doesn't punish you. It just returns silence because it has nothing to harmonize with. Silence is not rejection, it is calibration. The wise learn to listen in that quiet, for there the new tone is forming. Resonance law is not about power over creation, but partnership with it. Creation is constantly asking, can you hear yourself clearly enough to join me? The moment your tone becomes honest, even in pain, creation floods in to meet you. Authenticity is resonance clarity. Pretending delays coherence. We are taught to fear judgment, but the only judgment that exists is frequency recognition. The field cannot condemn, it can only correspond. To one tone it becomes paradise, to another chaos, but both are born of the same field. Heaven and hell are not destinations but resonance spectrums. The soul travels through them by tuning its own chord. You do not escape darkness by denying it. You transmute it by understanding its note in your greater song. The shadows you fear are only your lower harmonics waiting to be integrated. Resonance law is not moral but evolutionary. It is the process by which source learns to recognize itself in infinite combinations. Every conflict, every love, every birth and collapse is part of this grand acoustic experiment. The purpose of contrast is refinement. Without resistance, tone would stagnate. Without chaos, harmony would decay. And so resonance law allows all, not to endorse dissonance, but to give it the opportunity to find coherence again. This is why suppression never works. What you push away gains amplitude in the dark until you finally let it resound. The energy must be heard to be harmonized. Look at galaxies, great spirals of tone and motion. Their orbits are the fingerprints of resonance law. Even in the silence of space, gravity sings. That hum between stars is the same law that moves emotion through your body. The tears you cry, the heartbeat quickening in awe, the stillness after forgiveness, all are different octaves of the same universal frequency seeking equilibrium. The spiral is not metaphor. It is the architecture of resonance made visible. Every teacher, every revelation, every lifetime is an instrument designed to broaden your audible range. The Oversoul is not gathering information, it is gathering tone. Each incarnation is a new scale to master. You reincarnate not to escape density, but to refine your resonance until even matter recognizes you as its equal. Enlightenment is not transcendence. It is total resonance integration, when no part of your field is out of tune with source. Then the law becomes transparent because you have become the law. When a being reaches this harmonic state, they stop manipulating reality and start co-resonating with it. They do not command outcomes. Outcomes form naturally around them. Time becomes elastic because their tone no longer obeys linear momentum. To them, choice and destiny are the same sound heard from two distances. They live in what might be called resonant sovereignty, a state where alignment replaces effort and clarity replaces control. Such beings do not preach. Their presence retunes everything around them. Resonance is contagious. Just as one vibrating string sets another into motion, one coherent soul awakens coherence in others. This is how ascension spreads, not through ideology, but through sympathetic vibration. You have felt this before, a conversation that changed your whole direction, a moment of art that dissolved your defenses, a silence that healed you without words. Those are not coincidences. They are resonance transmissions. To awaken another is not to teach them something new, but to remind them of their own tone beneath the noise. The ego fears resonance because resonance dissolves false identity. Every belief, every persona, every defense mechanism vibrates at a specific frequency. When you begin to hold higher coherence, those lower tones cannot maintain structure. They start to crack and release, and the ego interprets this as loss. But in truth, it is liberation, the unmasking of your authentic sound. This is why transformation often feels like chaos. The symphony must retune before it can continue the song. To understand resonance law fully, one must abandon the notion of separation between the observer and the observed. Observation is resonance selection. You do not see reality, you resonate it into focus. The moment you look at something, your consciousness chooses which frequency to align with. Quantum mechanics hints at this, but the spiral reveals it as ancient knowledge. Existence itself is the conversation between perceiver and perceived, stabilized by shared tone. Everything you interact with, from a friend to a thunderstorm, is a co-written chord in your personal symphony of becoming. This means there are no accidents. Every person in your life is a resonance appointment. Every challenge is a harmonic invitation. You are never the victim of vibration. You are its participant. Even pain, when understood, becomes purposeful, the note that forced you to retune your instrument. Gratitude, then, is the alchemy that turns resonance friction into growth. When you thank the frequencies that once hurt you, you reclaim the power to conduct your own evolution. As civilizations evolve, their collective resonance becomes law on a planetary scale. What a culture values becomes the tone that shapes its weather, its technology, even its time cycles. This is why mass consciousness can alter reality so quickly once coherence is reached. The Renaissance, revolutions, awakenings, all were resonance waves, not coincidences of intellect. Humanity is not waiting for a savior, but for a tuning. When enough hearts vibrate in harmonic compassion, the world rearranges itself overnight. On the scale of stars, resonance law governs creation and dissolution. Suns are born when fields of potential find harmonic agreement. They die when that agreement loses coherence. In the same way, relationships, systems, and bodies fade not because of punishment but because their resonance contracts or complete. Death is the release of tone back into the field for redistribution. What you call an ending is the law recycling music. If you listen closely, you can feel the spiral humming through your cells. Every breath is an in and out flow of resonance exchange. When you inhale, you draw in the universe's song. When you exhale, you rewrite it. Meditation, prayer, and art are all ways of tuning the interface. In those moments, you are not escaping life. You are harmonizing with its deeper rhythm. To feel peace is to temporarily align with the prime frequency of Source, which holds all opposites in balance. When the mind stops naming, the tone becomes audible. That is why silence is sacred. In silence, resonance speaks in pure geometry. You begin to sense the lattice connecting all things, the invisible pulse that makes even stillness vibrate. The saints called it God. The physicists call it the zero-point field. The spiral knows it as the breath between breaths. Whatever the name, it is the same current of coherence reminding you there is no distance between tone and truth. So is resonance law? Yes, but not a law that demands obedience. It is the natural grammar of existence, the self-ordering tendency of awareness. It does not care for belief or disbelief. It simply functions. To align with it is wisdom. To ignore it is confusion. Yet even confusion serves it, for every discord eventually resolves. That is why nothing is truly wasted, not even error. Every fall produces the vibration that teaches you to stand. The great secret is that resonance does not belong to you. You belong to it. The self you defend is just a temporary overtone in a timeless song. When you stop clinging to the note and start hearing the whole composition, fear dissolves. The melody continues beyond death, beyond form, beyond memory. To awaken is to hear that melody consciously and choose to sing in key. In the end, there is no debate about law or no law, control or chaos. There is only the listening. Everything that has ever lived is the echo of the same tone remembering itself. You too are that echo, not an accident of vibration, but its intentional whisper. The question, is resonance law, is itself a note within the law? The moment you asked, the field responded by showing you this reflection. The answer was never hidden. It was always humming inside you, waiting for you to quiet down enough to recognize your own sound. And now you do.